This is my favorite grilled cheese sandwich ever. It's got steak, it's got caramelized onions, it's got truffle, it's got Swiss cheese, and it's got chips. What more could you ask for with this thing? It's crispy, it's juicy, it's delicious. It's one of my favorite sandwiches ever. I've been a bit of a sandwich addict. That's why I made this show, Sandwich Poppy. This is where I've tried viral sandwich recipes. But today's not a viral recipe. It's my own recipe. And this is inspired by the Bita Bangings steak frit sandwich. We made that a couple weeks ago. One of the best sandwiches I've ever had. Ever since then, it's slowly adapted in my repertoire. I've been showing my friends, my family, and I've settled on this version that I really, really like. Now, the caramelized onions is the only hard part of this, but they're not that hard, and everything else is really, really easy. So we're gonna make this recipe today. We're gonna take a slower pace. A lot of the older videos, they're pretty quick, fast-paced. I'm trying something different. Last week's video was really nice and slow. And today, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about sandwiches. And we're going to make this sandwich Mike Special is what I'm going to call it. The Mike Special sandwich. And hopefully you guys like it. So let's jump into it. All right, before I start cutting my onions, I'm going to let my steak rest. You want to try and get this to room temperature. It's going to make cooking the steak easier. It's going to make the steak cook more evenly. And it's going to let the heat penetrate. But I'm sure you've heard all the steak tricks. I thought I'd reiterate. But we're gonna put this here to start warming up. To start warming up. And we're gonna start cutting our onions. I'm just gonna use 2 today. That should be enough for the sandwich. It seems like a lot of onion, but the caramelized onion shrinks a lot while it's in the pan. So we're just gonna cut the ends off. And we're just gonna julienne these babies. So let's get rid of the skin. Now, back when I was working in a restaurant, I used to cut I probably cut 100, 200 onions a day. So I've become accustomed to it, but the thing that never, ever gets easier is the burn of cutting onions. Now, I don't know why you never acclimatize to it. Like, you cut onions every day for years, nonstop. Never even changes anything. You still cry every single time. Now, I have learned some tricks. So the trick that I'm going to show you guys today is something that I actually saw pretty recently. Because we're caramelizing it, it's okay if it's covered in a bit of oil. And yes, that is a sneak peek at the trick. But I'm going to take off the skin. Now, obviously I'm at home. I'm not running a business right now, so I don't mind if I take a little extra layer off. But when you work in a kitchen, you try and use every single part of the onion. The ends that I chopped off, you would barely cut off the sprout. Like, it'd still be most of the ends still on there. You really don't want to waste anything. But the trick is here. I'm gonna get some oil, and we're just gonna pour a bit into the lid here. And I'm gonna cover the knife blade area in oil, okay? Now, what does this do? This apparently neutralizes the acid or whatever the vapor that is in the onion while you cut it. So if you watch me now, I'm not gonna cry when I cut these onions. Watch me start crying. So I have oil on my knife. I have the oil on my knife, and now I can start cutting. So we're just gonna cut lengthwise. Make sure to tuck those fingers in and you slide forward. Now, what I've always wanted though, while I've been cutting, I've always wanted those Japanese Damascus knives. I don't have one, but they look amazing. They look like they cut like absolute butter. The chef I used to work for had one, and I used to steal it just to use it. But yeah, we're making caramelized onions, so the onions don't actually have to be too thin. Nearly all the onions are cut up. Now, I never used to julienne onions that much. It was always dicing. I would dice literally so many onions. But my knife skills got so good. Like, I only worked in a kitchen for 2 years, but my knife skills developed so much. I'm kind of thankful, because now using a knife, I used to like cut my fingers all the time. Now I can go semi-fast and I don't cut my fingers, knock on wood. But yeah, we got all of our onion here, not crying at all. No tears, no tears. The hack works. Trust me. You can try chewing gum. Apparently that's a thing. Goggles, the lid method where you put a hoodie on, you put a lid on your face. But yeah, next step in this, I'm gonna make our garlic truffle aioli. Just gonna mix aioli in a bowl with some truffle. It's not actually that expensive. The stuff in the oil, it's not cheap, not expensive. Definitely not worth what they charge in a restaurant, but we're making it at home, so it's a lot easier. You can get a little jar for like a couple dollars, like it's pretty cheap. And then we gotta cook our steak and make our grilled cheese. Boom, put it together, and then you get to see how good this thing looks. All right, so I'm gonna start cooking my steak right now. I got my cast iron pan, and then I got another pan for my caramelized onions. I'm gonna do those at the same time. So I'm gonna start off by heating up my onion pan, and then also heating up my cast iron pan. I'm gonna put a bit of oil in both of these. Oh, that's a lot of oil. Cool. I'm gonna let these heat up. While these heat up, I'm just gonna start yapping. So, secret of good caramelized onions, you wanna make sure they're soft. You wanna make sure they're sweet. So we're gonna add in a lot of sugar, not a lot, like half a tablespoon of sugar. And you're gonna try and get them borderline nearly burnt. Steak side, I mean, just don't cook it too long. Let it rest. Yeah, so let's do this. The cast iron pan's been heating up for a while now. So we're gonna start with that one. I'm gonna put some salt on the top, just a very simple seasoning, and then we're gonna put it onto the pan. That sizzle is awesome. I'm gonna put more salt on the other side. Quickly wash my hands. Now, while that's cooking, I'm gonna start with my caramelized onions. Put these in. Okay. Now these are gonna shrink a lot. They're gonna lose their shape, their water. And now I'm gonna add my sugar in here. I'm gonna put a lot of sugar in here. Now, a secret that I actually learned from a friend while I was working in the kitchen was you can use barbecue sauce with onion, and it caramelizes the onion. Now, it doesn't have the exact same flavor, but it's a quick hack. Speeds up the caramelization process, and also has that kind of like caramelized flavor without actually caramelizing it. Oh, that was hot. Okay. Pardon the death-defying squeal. Now the steak should be almost ready. I got a ribeye here, by the way. Ribeye is one of my favorite cuts. Okay, we're gonna flip it. Bam. Okay, so another 2 minutes on that side. While that's cooking, start mixing our onions in. Boom. Okay, I like to actually add, this is really noisy, I like to add a lid on top of my onions. It softens them up real quick without taking extra time. Let that steak cook. Got a nice crust on there, I think. A bit of gray spots, but better than what it normally looks like in my other pan. You know, during college, I used to cook a steak every day. That was my little, treat. I loved steak. I was obsessed with steak. I used to I ate it every other day. When I could afford it, I used to eat it. It was steak, and it was Costco hot dogs. That was my 99% of my diet. But let that crust build. And we're just gonna sit. We're gonna wait. We're not gonna fidget. We're gonna let this cook. There's another minute or two, but I'll be back. And when I'm back, the steak is gonna be ready to take off the pan. It's been two whole minutes. I'm gonna flip it one last time. Get the crust on the other side. And then we're gonna take it off. Now steaks don't actually take that much time to cook. Also, I'm adding the pepper in now a little bit late. The reason I add the pepper in, the pepper burns when the heat's too hot. Obviously, this is gonna be scorching hot on the cast iron, so I don't wanna burn my peppers. So I add it near the end of the cooking process. And that way you don't get burnt peppercorns all over your steak. Cool. Boom, all right, so the steak's done. Heat off on the cast iron, and we're gonna put it on our chopping board, and we're gonna let it rest, okay? We're gonna let it rest for 20 minutes. Okay, now I have seen videos where they season the chopping board, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna let this sit, and after 20 minutes, we're gonna slice this thing up, and we're gonna see how juicy and medium rare it is, all right? All I did was 2 minutes on either side, and that's how we're gonna get a perfect medium rare on our steak. Watch it not be medium rare. If it's not, then anyways, let's rest this. We'll quickly check on our onions. They have softened up a lot, really, really soft. We're gonna mix this around here. Smells delicious. Cooked onions are the best smelling thing in the kitchen, especially you got some garlic in the pan as well. I reckon that's why Italian cuisine is so good. That base of garlic and onion is next level. So we're gonna keep mixing, mix. And we're gonna let it keep caramelizing. Now, at this point, I'm looking at this, it's not sugary enough. So I'm gonna add another teaspoon in here. We're up to 3 teaspoons now, roughly 3/4 of a tablespoon. We're gonna mix it one more time. We're gonna let it sit again. I'm gonna put the lid back on, and we're gonna wait another 5 minutes. And I'm back. It's been a while. It's been a while that I've been waiting for these caramelized onions. They're still not the color I want, but they're nearly there. They're nearly there. So the good thing about caramelized onions is you can actually store them in the refrigerator. So what I like to do sometimes, not today, but I like to make a whole batch of caramelized onions, and then I store them in the refrigerator, and when I need them, I take them out, warm them up in the microwave or on the pan, and then I can use them in whatever I'm eating. So that's a pro tip. Probably should have done that for today. The onions are nearly at the color that I want. So what that means is, again, multitasking. We're gonna start grilling our grilled cheese. So I'm gonna heat up the cast iron again, get it nice and low heat. Remember, grilled cheese, perfect grilled cheese is on low heat. We're gonna get our my sandwich, and we're gonna put it onto the pan. So let's do that right now. Give me 1 second. All right, so I got my grilled cheese sandwich here. I'm gonna put it onto the pan. It's also gonna soak up those meat juices. We're gonna press it down, let it just cook on that low heat. Suck up all the juices. We're gonna mix our onions. Life is good. After these are done, we should be ready to go to start making our sandwich. See this color? We're nearly there on the onions. Now on the grilled cheese, we're gonna let it slowly cook. Now if you want the best possible effect, I recommend some Kewpie mayo and butter. I've been experimenting every day. And if you've cooked the steak in there like I have, steak juices also make the most amazing grilled cheese. So we're just gonna move this around a little. So you can see the color is coming, but it's not quite there yet. So the grilled cheese is just like the onions, it's gonna take a little bit of time. But yeah, what do you guys do in between doing? Because cooking is not just boom, 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 boom. Unless you're in a restaurant, it's actually quite chill. You're looking at the recipe while you're waiting for stuff. Are you doing something else, watching Netflix? For me, I have YouTube on the side. I just play. Sometimes it would just be a short, just looping forever and forever. But yeah, I've always wondered what I should be doing, because you know, before working in a restaurant, I didn't cook too much, so I didn't really know what to do in the off time. But at the restaurant, we used to prep, so it'd be cooking, prep, and sometimes there wouldn't even be time to prep. But when I cook at home now, I'll cook, and then I won't know what to do. I guess wash dishes, but that doesn't count as a task. But anyways, whoa, our grilled cheese looks like it's ready to flip. So we're gonna grab it and flip it, bang, okay. Great, so we're gonna keep letting that cook off. We're not gonna rush these two things, the caramelized onions and the grilled cheese. Unfortunately, no shortcut to these. If you rush either of these, it's gonna turn out horribly and you've wasted all of your time. So I'm not gonna do that. So what you can do, you can use a metal object or a plate, and you can press down on the grilled cheese, right? That's just gonna give it more contact points onto the pan, and you're gonna end up with a better grilled cheese. Don't press too hard because you will obliterate your grilled cheese sandwich. And I'm just pressing down. It doesn't have to be the whole time, but you're just trying to compress that cheese. Oh, sorry, you're just trying to compress the bread so you get good contact so that it toasts really nicely. I'm being too fidgety right now. I'm just gonna leave it. We're gonna let that toast. We're gonna let this toast, and the next time you'll see me, we're gonna be plating this baby up. Oh my God. Final product here. Look how good that thing looks. Let's have a quick bite. I'll tell you how good it is, and yeah. So good. Now people worry with steak sandwiches, but beef's too chewy. How am I gonna bite through it? If it's medium rare like this, look at that bite mark. No steak is flopping over. There's no steak that's like too chewy. I barely had to chew that thing because I did it really easily, really simply. 2 minutes on each side. That is it. You don't have to have a cast iron pan. Just make sure it's hot. Make sure it's room temp. Boom, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. You can do 2.5, 3 minutes depending on your pan. Boom, boom, medium rare, tender. Ribeye is my favorite cut because it's so tender as well. But the sandwich, let me tell you, the truffle aioli with the caramelized onion, match made in heaven. And then we got these chips. I like chili chips. Add a bit of spice to it, but the flavors come together just perfectly. Oh, so good. It's better than any sandwich shop you can go to. Better than McDonald's. Only takes about 25 minutes. And it needs like 5-6 ingredients. And that's it. This is the Mike special. If you want to see more recipes like this, want to see more crazy grilled cheese sandwiches, comment down below. If you got a viral grilled cheese sandwich recipe you want me to try, comment down below. And if you got any other ideas, comment down below. If you like this series, this Sandwich Poppy, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.